Now it's time for battle time with Granny. Here's the hat. Children ask so many questions because their minds are like sponges, absorbing everything around them. At an early age, they are constantly encountering new experiences, ideas, and sensations, and their curiosity is the natural response to the vastness of the world they are trying to make sense of. In many ways, this behavior is deeply rooted in the human instinct for survival and learning. Philosophically speaking, children embody the essence of curiosity that Socrates, the great philosopher, spoke about. Socrates believed that knowledge begins with recognizing our own ignorance, and children, in their innocence, are the epitome of this process. They have not yet built the complex layers of knowledge that adults have, so they naturally inquire about the things they don't understand. Their constant questioning is their way of trying to fill in the gaps, to understand how the world works, and to make sense of their environment. On a cognitive level, children are in the process of developing their understanding of language, concepts, and the relationships between objects, people, and actions. On a cognitive level, children are in the process of developing their understanding of language, concepts, and the relationships between objects, people, and actions. As they grow, they start to piece together how things fit together, and they rely on questions to guide them in this learning process. Their questions are not just about seeking factual information. They're also about testing boundaries, exploring cause and effect, and understanding their place in the world. Moreover, asking questions is an essential part of developing critical thinking skills. As children explore their world, they seek to understand it, and by asking questions, they learn how to evaluate and analyze information. For instance, when a child asks, "Why is the sky blue?" they are not just asking for an answer, they are beginning the process of engaging with scientific curiosity and developing reasoning skills. There's also a social component to why children ask so many questions. When they ask questions, they engage with the people around them, usually adults. So, in doing so, they form connections and learn about the dynamics of communication and relationships. Their questions are ways of reaching out for guidance, seeking approval, or simply learning how to interact with the world socially. Another reason children ask questions is that they are inherently open minded. As we grow older, we tend to accumulate knowledge and patterns of thinking, often becoming more certain of our assumptions. Children, however, don't yet have this extensive knowledge base, so they remain more open and curious. Their questions reflect an innate desire to explore possibilities rather than settle for simple answers. So, children ask so many questions because they are in the process of constructing their understanding of the world around them, testing their assumptions, developing critical thinking skills, and forming connections with others. Their constant questioning is an essential part of how they learn and grow, and it reflects the deep human need for understanding and meaning. In this sense, perhaps we could all learn something from their unrelenting curiosity, to ask questions with the same openness and wonder. Asking questions is a powerful tool for reshaping how we perceive the world. At its core, questioning opens up new possibilities for understanding, growth, and insight. Philosophers like Socrates champion the importance of questioning as the foundation of knowledge, as he believed that asking the right questions leads to deeper truths. So when we begin to ask questions, whether about our surroundings, ourselves, or the beliefs we hold, we invite curiosity and a willingness to explore beyond the surface. First, asking questions challenges our assumptions. We often walk through life with established patterns of thought and fixed beliefs, which can limit our perception of the world. When we question those beliefs, whether about a situation, a person, or even our own actions. We break free from those constraints and open ourselves to new ways of thinking. For example, instead of simply accepting a difficult situation as bad, asking, what can I learn from this? This shifts our perspective from one of defeat to one of opportunity for growth. In this way, questioning forces us to confront our biases and expand our understanding. Additionally, questioning encourages a mindset of curiosity, which fosters lifelong learning. Rather than seeing knowledge as a fixed body of facts, we begin to see it as a never ending process. Every question we ask is an invitation to explore, and with each new answer, new questions emerge. This cycle of inquiry, asking, answers, inquiring, this goes round and round. This cycle of inquiry keeps our minds sharp and agile, helping us to constantly reevaluate our surroundings and adapt to new challenges. It creates a world where curiosity and discovery become a natural part of our everyday lives. Lastly, asking questions often uncovers hidden truths or insights. In philosophy, there's the concept of the examined life, a life that questions its purpose, its ethics, and its values. When we ask questions about the meaning of our own lives, about the ethics of our actions, or about the nature of the world around us, we are engaging in deeper exploration of existence itself. Through these inquiries, we may uncover truths that were previously obscured, leading us to live more intentional, thoughtful lives. In essence, asking questions shifts our perception of the world by encouraging us to think critically, empathize deeply, remain curious, and uncover hidden truths. It's a reminder that the world is not static, but it's constantly unfolding. And through questioning, we can be active participants in that unfolding process. Now, on to the finale episode of Ellen and Questions. By now, Ellen knew that there was no turning back. The path she had been walking had become a tightrope, with nothing below but the unknown. She had asked questions that had pulled her deeper and deeper into a reality she couldn't understand. But the truth, the final truth, still eluded her, and she was determined to find it, no matter what. The city outside her window seemed different tonight. The lights felt harsher, the shadows darker. She'd been seeing things in a new way ever since that moment in the church. Since the light had consumed her, it was as though her mind was no longer limited to the world she knew. The boundaries had dissolved, and she was floating in some kind of a limbo between both worlds. Tonight, she stood in front of the mirror again, the weight of the question she had been carrying pressing heavily on her chest. What was the purpose of all this? What had she uncovered? She could feel the answer just out of reach, but it was there. It was waiting for her. And that's when it hit her. The final question, the one she'd been avoiding. What is the purpose of existence? It'd been there, lingering in the back of her mind all along, and now it was time to face it, to ask it. But could she handle the answer? Was she ready for what would come next? She closed her eyes, her hands trembling as she reached for Hattie's journal once again. The pages felt heavier tonight, as if they were no longer just words on a paper. They were a key to something much larger. She opened the book to the last entry Hattie had written. It was simple, cryptic, and to the point. The question is not the end, it is the beginning. Ellen read those words over and over. She had seen them before, but tonight they felt different. Tonight they meant something. She wasn't just searching for the truth anymore. She was searching for herself. She stood up slowly, and the weight of the moment pressing down on her. The lights flickered again, this time more violently. The air seemed to vibrate, as though the very space around her was alive. And then she asked it, What is the purpose of existence? The moment the words left her lips, the room changed. It wasn't the lights or the shadows that changed, it was everything. Ellen felt at first this shift in the air, like a breath taken by the universe itself. The walls seemed to stretch out, the colors in the room blurring. She couldn't focus, couldn't tell where she ended and the world began. And then the light appeared. It wasn't a flash, it wasn't an overwhelming glow that blinded her. It was something deeper, a presence. It was as if the very essence of light had manifested, filling the room with a warm, ethereal glow that made the world feel alive. The light surrounded her, not in a way that blinded, but in a way that made her see everything. Everything. She could see herself, not just her reflection, but her soul. She could see all the choices she had made, all the paths she had walked, all the questions she had asked. She could see her hopes, her fears, her regrets. And in that moment, Ellen realized that the question was never about finding an answer. It was about understanding who she had become by asking it. The light didn't give her a simple answer. It didn't tell her the meaning of life or what she was supposed to do next. Instead, it showed her something more powerful. It showed her that the search for truth, her search, had always been about her journey, her growth. The purpose of existence wasn't something to be found. It was something to be lived. And in that living, she had found herself. Ellen stood there, bathed in the light and her heart racing, her mind swirling with everything she had just experienced. The room seemed to pulse with energy, the walls breathing with her as if the entire universe was aligning with her understanding. And then, as suddenly as it had come, the light faded. The room was still again, the air calm, but Ellen knew she had changed. The truth wasn't a destination. It was a journey, and she had walked it. In the days that followed, Ellen felt a shift within herself. The questions she had asked, the things she had uncovered, none of them mattered in the way she had expected. They had all been steps leading her to this moment of understanding. The light had shown her not just the world, but herself. And now she was ready to live with it. She stood in front of the mirror again, looking at her reflection. This time, she saw herself clearly. She wasn't lost anymore. She had found what she needed, not in the answers, but in the asking. And that, she realized, was the purpose. But as she turned away from the mirror, she couldn't shake the feeling that something else was out there, something waiting for her, just beyond the reach of her understanding. Was the journey really over? As Ellen left her apartment, stepping out into the world once again, the city felt different. The air was charged with possibility. She didn't have all the answers, and maybe she never would. But she knew one thing for sure. The search, her search, wasn't over. It only just began. Sometimes the answers we seek don't come in the form we expect. Sometimes the questions themselves shape us into something more. Ellen's journey for the truth has led her to a deeper understanding of herself, and perhaps in that understanding, she's found the purpose she was searching for all along. But as with all journeys, the road ahead is never truly complete. Follow your journey, ask the questions. That is the journey. I'm Meryl, and this is Battlegram. I hope you never stop asking questions. Subscribe and share. Click here for Bible-related stuff, and click here for more crazy granny battle time. Goodbye.